Hi, everybody. So I wanted to talk about the story of Noah. The last video that I did talked about Adam and Eve in the garden. The very first covenant with God was with Adam and God. And after the fall, after they were kicked out of the garden, which, as we talked about in the last video, the garden is a metaphor for the temple. It is a stand-in as the temple. We move to a covenant that is made with Noah. Now, Noah is one of the most confusing Old Testament covenants because God kills everybody, which, if we're looking at our understanding of God, murder and God don't seem to go together. So how are we supposed to understand this story? First, I want to talk about Origen. Origen was an early church father, and what he said is that you need to read the Bible through the last book of the Bible, through the book of Revelation. And what does the book of Revelation say? You will understand the scrolls through the Lamb. What that means is that you will understand the scrolls, which scripture used to be written on scrolls. So you will understand the Bible through Christ. That's how you have to read the Bible. If you don't, you're going to be extremely confused and you're going to come up with a lot of really strange concepts. So we read the story of Noah through Christ. Again, just like the creation story, this is not meant to provide us with history. This is meant to provide us with a story about ourselves and an understanding of ourselves and our humanity. Now, what we learned about Noah was Noah is the only person that had any interest in having a relationship with God. The only thing on the people's hearts other than Noah's was evil. So here we have an evil community, as the story is describing it to us, and we have one person that is interested in God. As we learned in the first creation story, man is meant to be an image bearer of God to creation. And at this point, we went from Adam and nobody else was interested in bearing God's image to creation. Then we get to Noah. Now, the story of Noah is actually, it contains a lot of the exact same wording from the Ballad of Gilgamesh. There's 12 tablets that the Epic of Gilgamesh was written on, and the flood narrative is written on the 11th. So we know that we took this story, that early Jews, they took the story from Mesopotamia. Again, so it's not meant to be a factual story. It's meant to tell us about ourselves. So what does Noah do? God instructs Noah to build an ark. This ark is going to be our temple. Again, temple, just like the garden was the temple for Adam, this ark is meant to represent a temple. This is another beautiful story about God not giving up on humanity. His initial attempt at connecting with authentic love with Adam didn't work. He reaches for Noah. Now, Noah bears the image and likeness of God by building the boat, building the temple, which it made him extra crazy because a lot of people don't know this, but Noah would have lived in the desert in this story. So imagine living in a very arid environment where you probably get 1 inch of rain a year and you're building a boat for an epic flood. So Noah builds our floating temple, and he is acting out that role of caretaker for creation. He goes out and he gets 2 of every animal to ensure that they survive after the flood. Now, we know that Noah he takes care of the animals, he takes them onto the boat, but then everybody in creation dies. Everybody else dies. So what are we supposed to do with this? And here's what it is. Jewish culture, we have to understand this. If you're going to understand anything about the Old Testament, you have to understand this because Christianity doesn't make sense without it. It's a sacrifice culture. The only way that Jews could be forgiven of their sins was something had to die. There had to be a sacrifice. For any of you who are hunters, who duck hunt, deer hunt, whatever, when you kill that animal and you watch the life drain out of it, it does something to you. I've spoken with many people who have hunted, and they said there's this really horrible feeling when you kill an animal and watch the life drain out of it. That is Jewish culture. Sin causes death. When you sin, you have to recognize the damage it is doing, and the way that you recognize the damage that you're doing is by killing an animal and sacrificing it. So in this story, when water floods the earth and kills all of humanity, it's not saying the world was ever actually truly flooded and killed everybody. What it is saying is that your sin causes death, and water washes away the sin. What does that sound like to you? What in religion, in every religion for the most part, or every Christian religion, is water used to wash away sin? Here we are getting the foreshadowing of baptism. Baptism, where water washes away sins of all of creation. Now, this story is meant to teach us sin causes death, foreshadowing of baptism, another floating temple, and another beautiful example of God reaching out for us and hoping to have that relationship with us. So I will move on from here, from the Noahic covenant. We will move on to, I believe it's Abraham next. So I hope you're enjoying these videos and have a great day.